let's see, what did we do last time? We did a
If
kind of
we want
serious
to,
topic.
yeah,
So, yeah.
let me suggest this. If we want to get the one with the Iowa caucuses out today or
Okay,
tomorrow,
well, let's start there then, and then we'll
let's
segue
do
into
that.
Martin Luther King. Yeah, that
Yeah, let's
sounds
do
good.
those together, and then we'll do the
Yeah,
other one in the second
sounds
half.
good. Okay.
All right. So Martin Luther King and Iowa caucuses, because that's
Yeah. So here we are. Here we are. So, so the Iowa caucuses bring you, I'm sure, trigger all your political antennae. Talk about that.
yeah. The biggest memory that I have from that was taking part. I was a shift leader the one day for Hillary on what was called the Hellapalooza. She took a helicopter tour in the middle of January to every county in Iowa,
Every county.
and that was interesting because that's where I learned about freezing fog,
Whoa.
not freezing rain,
Right.
freezing fog.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was sitting in the front with the pilot of a in a Bell Jet Ranger with the rest of the shift and a staffer or two with me, and she was in um, the front helicopter with the boss and her senior staff, and yeah, we had to cut it short because the conditions were much like what it is right now.
Hmm.
I just to research for today, I watched a CBS feature that you may have even seen last night. This senior political reporter goes to Iowa, goes to this small town, and they
Hmm.
put together with Iowans a mock caucus, and it's like they're in like a church conference room or a classroom or something like that,
Hmm.
and some of the caucus officials, the election officials, are local volunteers, and um, they take the attendance. Well, actually, there's a roll call, then there's a prayer. Anybody have any problems yet? Then there's a pledge of allegiance.
Okay.
Then there's speeches, and this part, I have no problem with. There's speeches from representatives for each candidate,
Hmm.
and you could tell this was staged. One guy said, about how we got to vote for Donald Trump, and then somebody else was for Vivek Ramaswamy, and what you go through down the list, and then there's paper ballot voting. That was new to me. That's not how caucusing was explained to me before.
Hmm.
But after the paper ballot voting is manual counting, and the results of that location are announced on the spot. Now, what I was told caucuses do, they're in person like that, and if you don't show up, it sucks to be you.
Hmm.
Um, the pros to it is that it engages the community. Everybody's there,
Hmm.
and these go from in like classrooms such as that. Sometimes your official polling station is in Jane Stahl's living room.
Wow.
That's where everybody goes.
Wow.
I mean, do you
Well,
see the obvious
mhm.
dated, outdated procedures? I mean, you shouldn't be holding your entire community, your entire neighborhood in your living room,
Mhm.
not in 2023.
Mhm.
And
Well,
the one change,
mm,
from what I was explained to what caucuses are, it's like a 2 or 3 round of voting. Like after round one, the bottom third gets dropped off, during which time you and I are negotiating. Hey, come over to my candidate,
okay.
and
Yeah.
we'll hear what your people have to say, kind of thing.
Okay.
And then again at the end of it, the one with the most, um, the one with the most wins. So my point of all that being, and I've always had this argument for the longest time, there's a bunch of small town people here
Mhm.
saying that this is how we get to know each other. I'm like, if you having this little cocktail party once every 4 years is how you get to know each other, you need to get out more.
Well, didn't I hear something about, they're standing around outside for 2 or 3 hours waiting to get in
Yeah,
or something like that?
yeah,
And that, I mean, in
and
with the weather there now, nobody's. I mean, that's
yep,
hello. That's going to be a challenge.
yeah,
So,
yep.
so they're waiting to get into my living room in order to be part of this. How does that work? I mean, they wait
So
outside until it's their turn to complete a paper ballot, and then they leave again and wait outside for the second round. Is that how do you
yes,
understand that?
once according to that demo on CBS, it was one round and done, and maybe that's the case.
Okay, but not how
But
it was explained
what
to
I had
you.
been no, what I had been told back, and when I was with Hillary, there is there's not even ballots. Barack Obama's in one corner, Hillary Clinton's in another. Somebody else is in a third corner,
Holy
and
cow!
the officials just kind of eyeball it.
Wow!
All right, this third corner is going to go away,
Wow!
and
Wow!
talk amongst yourselves. We'll reconvene in 45 minutes,
Wow!
and then that's when the wheeling and dealing gets done. Now it's down to Hillary versus Barack, and their people got to go out and kind of recruit that last third corner.
Yeah. So, do you have any
And that was kind of
predictions
part of it.
today? Do you have any predictions today?
I learned something, and I haven't seen. I don't have a citation for it, and I don't even know where to find it again. Um, but I learned that in the polls that matter,
Hmm.
whatever that is,
Yeah, I know you're not a
Joe
big poll
Biden
fan.
is, yeah, yeah. Joe Biden is rather handedly beating Donald Trump.
I can only hope. Anyway,
And of course, I've been saying that,
you have.
which is,
You
and
have.
this was one of those three in the morning things. So I didn't do the best job of earmarking or bookmarking that location. That citation, that the article.
Well, my question is,
Um,
on the Republican
of course, there aren't
side,
any Democrats today anyway.
what was
There aren't
that?
any Democratic caucuses. There are no Democratic caucuses today anyway.
I
So
know, I know.
it's kind of
So,
irrelevant. But
so
I think Trump's going to win Iowa,
yeah.
at least according to that CBS demo. Everybody got the opportunity to vote, as they saw fit.
Well, if they're
And
just going into various corners and there's no secrecy involved,
right.
yeah, I would imagine that that's what's going to happen. Yeah.
So that was also because, to know the history behind it.
Hmm.
Everybody go in this corner, everybody go in that corner, for this guy go in that corner, for, Hillary go in that, whatever.
Hmm.
I think that dates back to before Iowans had pens and paper. And I mean that literally.
God.
Not that they're illiterate
No, not at all. I
right,
mean,
but they're
there's what's
farmers.
his name? Yeah.
They're all on some level farmers. They don't
Hmm.
have a lot of pens and paper. So the easiest way to count is just pile on wherever you want to go.
Hmm. 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 It certainly is authentic that way,
Today,
that's for sure. Yep. Yeah.
today that's not necessary.
Yep. Yep.
Today, there's no reason why you can't wake up in the morning, cast
Hmm.
your vote, and go right back to bed.
Hmm. Hmm. Anyway, so that's what today is. And it also happens to be Martin Luther King Day. So,
It is.
yeah. So let's talk about that. What do you see in your community is your community, your area, shall we say, celebrating Martin Luther King Day? And if so, how? And, my understanding is that it's become a national day of service. So, first of all, what do you see in your area? Anything?
More Confederate flags.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's
Wow.
one. This is the hypocrisy and the shit that pisses me off. There's a flag right down the street from me that is a hybrid of the American flag and the Confederate flag. There's, the blue with the stripes along the mast, and as
Hmm.
you move out towards the edge of the far edge of the flag, it converts to the Confederate flag.
Wow.
Excuse me. The same people who would bitch about the American flag properly hanging from the Roosevelt
Hmm.
balcony
Hmm.
alongside of a pride flag
Hmm. John
are
Veteran.
also
Hmm.
desecrating the flag by bastardizing it up against another flag.
Hmm.
If one is no good, the other is no good.
Right, 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 right.
The same
Well,
people that bitch about burning the flag fly it upside down
hmm,
because Joe Biden is president. Meanwhile, if you'd be paying attention to anything, the country hasn't been in better shape in a long time.
yep.
And I saw the one lady say that she wants to vote in that CBS thing last night.
Hmm.
She wants to vote for anybody that will get out Joe Biden because in fact groceries just aren't what they used to be. Nothing is what it used
Is
to
what
be.
it used to be.
And
Well,
in
it's like,
fact,
yeah.
gas here is at least back down below $3 a gallon.
Wow.
Uh, eggs are like $1 and change. I don't know what the hell you're paying for them.
Yeah,
But if you
yeah,
can't buy orange juice,
yeah,
maybe learn how to manage a checkbook.
yeah, yeah. Well, Paul's buddies are always blaming Joe for the price of gas around here, like he's in charge of it. But what disappointed me this morning when I opened the paper was in previous years, front page news was what the communities were doing to honor the Day of American Day, United States or American Day of Service in
Mhm.
memory of Martin Luther King. Today, nope, not one thing on the front page. Actually, not one thing I'm seeing in the skinny little paper that comes every morning. So yeah, it's
Sadly, I
sad.
suspect he's going to go the way of Arbor Day and some of the other more
Lesser known
patriotic and
holidays.
militaristic. Yeah, the
Yeah,
lesser holidays. I'll just say it.
yeah, lesser
Like any
holidays.
holiday should be lesser than any.
Yeah, yep, 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 yep. It's just
But
pathetic. But but because we are good people, how do you see I recognize it. I know what it is, but for our listeners, you know, your way of serving today, how do you see yourself?
we're gonna when Zach gets up, he gets paid every Friday.
Okay.
And the week of Christmas and whatever, which I think it was actually the week of New Year's, but whatever he just got paid for on Friday was noticeably less than other paychecks. That was
Okay.
Friday. Last night, he messages me from this girl's place. Can I have $10 for gas?
Ooh.
Didn't you just get paid? He's down to like $15.
Hmm.
Like $180 is gone.
Hmm.
Like, what did you spend on $180 on 2 days? Well, some of his hobbies, habits,
Hmm.
vices, as it
Hmm.
is,
Hmm.
uh, and he's got a car payment coming.
Oh boy.
So he's just, figuring dad's going to help with the car payment again.
Hmm.
And so today I told him, I said, and I get pissed at him, I didn't, because starting a fight's not gonna,
Yeah.
it's not gonna get anything for anybody.
Hmm.
But I told him, I said, okay, I record with Jane tomorrow. When we're finished, I'm gonna get you up, and I'm still here. It's yeah, the video card craps out and comes back for like whatever. I'm gonna wake you up, and we're going to go over that app for managing money. Last year when I homeschooled him, his fall class, he had an economics class taught by Dave Ramsey, of who's an economist that appears on both, I think it's MSNBC or CNBC and Fox Business. He's much more often on Fox Business because he's kind of biblical, little Jesus-y and conservative, and he's a
Okay.
better fit on Fox Business than he is on the Lib channel.
Hmm.
But he's really good with teaching basics on how to manage money. And he's
Hmm.
got an app where you can, project a budget for every month.
Hmm.
How much money do you think are you going to estimate coming in? You know how much you get paid,
Hmm.
basically, what your take home is. Any other supplements or whatever investment, anything, and then he gives you the opportunity to create your list of expenses, your utilities, your anything,
Hmm.
whatever you're going to spend money on. It's all customizable. And we both I used to use the app pretty regularly, and right around the time Moby passed away, I just kind of stopped doing everything in my life.
Hmm.
But we're both I created my February budget last night
Ooh.
because I'm not gonna try to get caught up for January and worry about that.
Hmm.
I've you know
Hmm.
January and everything in the holidays and bills that I might be behind on because of giving the kid a decent Christmas.
Hmm.
I got a plan for that. But I started the February budget
Hmm.
so I can show him, and then I'm going to get one of my whiteboards, and we're going to, okay, what do you usually make
Hmm.
take home every Friday? 225. Okay, 200.
Hmm.
We're going to round down
Hmm.
times 4,
Hmm.
$800 a month.
Hmm.
You've got a $500 car payment. There you go.
Hmm.
You've got $300 in 4 weeks. And in 6 months, when that big payment that I made for you and the state of Florida made for you runs out on your car insurance, guess
Oh.
what else you have?
Hmm.
And once he gets back into college, he's going to get some additional financial aid. We actually both will.
Hmm.
Um, so that's going to take care of a lot of that. But long, convoluted story to answer your question.
I
Service,
forget what the question
yeah,
was. Yeah.
my service today
Yeah. Well,
is
so your
continuing,
service efforts
continuing to
today are,
Zach. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
continuing with son,
So
and
you're
he's
building responsibility,
yeah.
financial
I mean,
responsibility in younger
last
people.
week he last week he just asked, what can I do? Like he said, should I take out the trash?
Hmm.
And that's as far as it went.
Hmm.
But the fact that he asked,
Hmm. Well,
I
we
thought was,
we find hope everywhere we go because
yeah,
that's who we
well,
are, right?
yeah. But also, I think it's indicative of who he is, and also the progress I've made with him
Good,
compared to when he was, living in a group home, you know,
good,
a year and a
good.
half ago.
Well, he'll be living with you during his college years, right? He's not going into dorm
Yeah,
life
I
or anything, is he?
we talked about some of the options he has for college, some of which are online, and some of the different things he is interested in. I mean, we even talked about him, starting a business, like
Hmm.
tree trimming. He likes cars, so we kind of threw the idea of detailing around.
Hmm.
Problem is that's one. It's more equipment than what I think he realizes.
Mhm.
Has a lot of time.
Mhm.
One car doesn't, he might wash his car in a half an hour or so,
Mhm.
but detailing,
Detailing is a whole different story.
not the same thing. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so,
Because you're talking about polishing, you're talking about waxing, not to mention what you do in the inside, which
yeah, and
sometimes
that's,
is even more challenging
yeah,
than the outside. It certainly is with some cars I know.
yeah, yeah. And that's what I told him. I said, I'm going to be upfront with you about that. Do you have the patience?
Mhm.
And he's like, yeah, probably not.
Mhm.
And that was impressive enough for me that he didn't go, oh yeah, I can do it. I'll be fine. He said, yeah,
Yeah.
no, 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 let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving
And
on to the next question. Yeah.
uh, so the math class that he had last fall and last spring was day trading.
Mm.
I taught him the day trading that I had been doing up until that point. Again, something else I dropped after Moby passed away.
Mhm.
And we're both talking about wanting to get back into that because that's why I started the YouTube channel, The Doggy Traders,
Mhm.
was because my first year I kicked ass. That's
Mhm.
why I own as much of this house that I do,
Mhm.
as far as the equity that I've got. And whether it was trading cryptos or the foreign exchange market or investing in crypto,
Mhm.
it it I did well.
Mhm.
And if he and I just sit down and focus, and I got a friend of mine out in California that um, has his own artificial intelligence that he's been using, and I want to hook up with him again and see how he's doing with it, and if he needs any other guinea pigs. But if not, I'll just go back to what I've always known, and that's
Mhm.
staring at these candles and figuring out the pattern. The candles that's
Yeah.
it's a type
Yeah.
of graph.
Yeah.
It's a bar graph that
Yeah.
the markets use to track, and there's all kinds of things you can really tell from the how the candles are marked and so on. And so I could certainly use the extra money too. I'm not complaining about that. And if it's something
Yeah.
that the kid and I can do together,
That'd be
great.
cool. That'd be cool. Now, I've wanted to ask you for a number of months now, and maybe you don't want to talk about it, but
That's all right.
the death of Moby
Yeah.
really took you down. Do you have any understanding of, was it, I mean, do you have any understanding of why it hit you so hard?
It's my buddy. I remember when this one hit me differently than Anton.
That's, yeah, talk about that
Anton
if
was
you
my
want.
Rottweiler. Yeah, sure. Anton was my Rottweiler that I bought from a breeder back in '05 or '06, something like that. He lived to be 6.5 and died from cancer.
Mm,
When I remember when we dropped him off at the crematorium, my brother was with me. Was living in DC that by that point, and I remember hanging from my brother. I was crying so hard,
mhm,
and I didn't get that drastic, I guess, with Moby,
mhm,
but it's been longer.
mhm.
It ruined my whole summer. I don't remember the summer of 2023.
Mhm.
And
You mean
I got
maybe
choked up.
2022? This past summer was
Um,
2023.
yeah,
Oh,
no, that's the one I met because after he died
okay.
in May
Okay.
that following summer, because the year or so leading up to that, I knew he was getting old.
Mhm,
The average age of a large dog like a mastiff like that is 8 to 10 years,
mhm,
and he turned 12 back in April.
mhm,
So over that last year, he was already 11.
mhm,
and he was 12 years and 13 days.
Mm-hmm.
But that last year, I intentionally didn't go on a vacation, went home to Pennsylvania for a very quick trip and came right back
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want to be away
Mm-hmm.
when that first came down like I was with Anton. I was in
Mm-hmm.
Australia with Barack Obama when I got a call from my brother saying Anton is limping. The dog walker took him to a vet. They did a biopsy of the elbow, and it's either Lyme's disease or an aggressive cancer.
Mm-hmm.
We live in Washington, D.C. It's not Lyme's disease.
Mm-hmm.
And I petted him frequently enough to know he didn't have any ticks on him.
Mm-hmm.
So 2022 into 2023 was very short. Any trips away was very short because I wanted to spend as much of those last years with Moby as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone longer. I mean, I still think about Anton. I've got a I've got a photo and his remains on my dresser in my bedroom. Moby's is out in the kitchen, and but I was hugging Matrix this morning and got a little choked up thinking about Moby. And that's 8 months later,
Mm-hmm.
and Anton, I've loved them both, but the grieving has been drastically different for each.
Yeah, it's amazing how, it's just amazing, the grief that attends the loss of our best friends,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is, certainly what dogs represent to many of us most of the time. But so it goes. How old is Matrix?
He'll be 8 in April. Their birthdays were like 2 days apart from each. I think Moby was the 21st and Matrix is the 19th of April.
Okay.
So I was when I forget exactly when it was. I still had both of them. I think it was like last winter, last spring. I was a neighbor had stopped and was commenting on both the dogs, and we were talking about the age
Mm-hmm.
and that Moby was 11, was soon going to be 12. Matrix was 6, was soon going to be 7, and the fact that I could actually lose them both within the next year and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was so turned off by that conversation. Yeah, he likes my dogs that much.
Yeah.
He drove off. He couldn't handle.
No
He couldn't
kidding.
handle. Yeah, he
Well,
couldn't
are
handle.
you thinking about adding another one to the layer?
Not now, no, because
Okay.
I got Moby as he was a rescue. Um,
Mm-hmm.
a friend of mine couldn't keep him anymore, and so I got him. I was just going to foster him,
Mm-hmm.
and foster daddy just became daddy.
Right. It's a foster
And
fail. That's what they call it.
yeah, oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
Yeah. A
and
foster fail.
that was over the summer when he was about 3 months old, and
Mm-hmm.
then it was later that fall that he passed away. That
Mm-hmm.
Anton passed away. So
Mm-hmm.
Moby was only 6 months old.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent the next 5 years with just him.
Mm-hmm.
He was 5 years old when I got Matrix,
Mm-hmm.
and so Moby knew the rest of his life with having Matrix around.
Mm-hmm.
Matrix has not known what it's like to have just daddy,
Mm-hmm.
like Moby and Anton both had.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to give him that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's great with other dogs, and I kind of think that maybe I should, so he does, you know. But he got up and he's laying right behind me right now. He went
Well,
right
it's
back
so
to
funny
sleep.
we ended up talking about that because I was talking to my friend Sue this morning, and she mentioned something about her dog, Pippa. She was thinking about, she hates to leave him. Her husband said, you can leave the dog from 9 to 5. to do this, that, and the other thing, just like any other dog. And she said it made her think about the possibility of getting a friend for Pippa. And I recalled that yesterday, Paul and I were going out for a little while. Jeff had left Ginger with us so that he could go to the gym. And Paul and I had to leave a few, maybe 20, 30 minutes before Jeff would get back again. And when I said to Ginger, we got to go, I mean, you should have seen the face. It was so pathetic. I mean, the ears dropped down. I mean, she looks up and it's like, you're not going to leave me, are you? And I said, we'll be back. So she walks over to Paul and looks up at him like, are you going to leave me too? I mean, it was so pathetic. I thought to myself, this dog needs a friend. Not that she will be getting one, but I'm saying it just breaks my heart. It just breaks my heart when,
Yep.
when I have to leave them. In fact, I come home from whatever it is I'm doing when I think she's going to be here just to make sure she's not by herself because I just love her and I like being
Yep.
with her and I know that she doesn't like being alone. But we are crazy animal lovers. That's kind of what we are, which reminds me on the Boyertown Area Expression news site today, the digital news site that I helped to edit with my friend Leslie
Right.
Misko. She chose to publish an article I wrote this weekend about one of our artists, Barbie Bonnet, because
Okay.
Barbie's mission, she does a series of paintings about endangered species. And I loved talking to her on my Be Inspired podcast, because she's shared that she's never liked the taste of meat. And when she was 14 or 15, she just told her mother, I'm not ever eating meat again. I just don't like it. So she became a vegetarian. And, when she was 14 or 15 years old, I really admire young people who are so certain of who they are and what they believe in at such a young
Yeah.
age. I'm afraid I was not that. I was still pretty much tied to what I was supposed to do and what other people thought I should be doing and what other people's opinion of me was. And that lasted for way too long in my life. But it was really fun talking to Barbie. And she had exhibited in the studio for a recent exhibit that's no longer up, but she she exhibited some paintings. One was of a tree kangaroo. Have you ever heard of a tree kangaroo? They
No.
find their food in the trees. They live, of course, in Australia. But I had never heard of tree kangaroos, but they're endangered because of deforestation. There are fewer trees, so there's less food for the
Yeah.
kangaroos. And she also did another painting of another Australian animal, the Tasmanian devil, that just
Yeah.
looks like a little black dog. And once again, because of global warming, these particular animals are endangered. And then she also said that she was surprised to learn, and I mean, at a young age, she went on the World Wildlife Foundation or whatever federation or whatever it is to learn about endangered animals. And she was surprised to learn that certain rabbits are endangered. And once again, because of global warming and there's less grass and whatnot, one rabbit in Florida, in the Keys, um, uh, is is an endangered species, and I guess there are other ones. But she was talking about her paintings, and she's a graduate of Moore College of Art and Design, but had an admirer of John Miro, whose work is often very, kind of childlike in its graphic form and bold colors like children would do. Anyway, it's one of her favorite artists, but she had decided to do abstract painting, but when she tried to do it, she kept seeing animals in her work, so she gave up abstract and now she does a different kind of work. It's very graphic in the sense that it's not very, very detailed. A lot of bold colors, a lot of strong lines, that kind of thing. But anyway,
Yeah.
so today, and I look at it, I suppose, as her way of serving the world with her talents to try to
Yeah.
protect these animals who are endangered. And we all have ways to be valuable, ways to forward whatever's good in the country and so forth. And, of course, I see your work on York's Radio and Up the Middle, and, your dedication to providing the truth and the facts and doing research and being on both sides of the political spectrum to be fair to, not to be biased totally in one direction or another. And I see that to be a great service in, as far as what you do. So I'm just applauding your work on this
Thank
National
you.
Day of Service, Martin Luther King's National Day of Service, the federal holiday. I recognize what you do and I applaud you for that. So there you
Thank you.
go.
Thank you.
So you didn't talk about you. I did.
Yeah, yeah, that's a change. Yeah. How about you though?
Well, yeah,
I would have to see. I can't
that's easy.
pinpoint your service because there's talk about laundry list. You asked me when I sleep, and I'm like, look at you being judgmental.
I had a lousy night's sleep too last night. I saw the clock at 3 o'clock. Now, I think I
Yeah,
may have drifted off from time to time, but it didn't feel like a really good sleep. But nonetheless, I
right.
slept really well from 4 to 8 this morning. So,
Yeah,
but no,
I've decided
my
tonight's going to be a melatonin.
there you go. My service is to let people know about all the people who are doing great things. I mean, however it is they're using their skills to forward positive things in our world. Like Barbie, who is using her skill as a painter. And by the way, she's not just a painter, she's a pastry chef of all things. I think that's
Wow,
fascinating. Yeah. And I
that's her
love
actual
talking,
job.
pardon me?
Like, is that her actual job, or is
That's
that
her
just
actual
another?
job. No,
Okay,
she decided, even though she's a graduate of Moore College of Art and Design, she decided she wasn't sure she could make a living at it. And I guess during her college years, she did some waitressing, but didn't really like being in what we call the front of the house.
yeah,
Decided she'd like to be in the back. And because she's a vegetarian, decided that maybe being a chef of
probably
all
better.
kinds of
Yeah,
entrees was probably not the best idea. So she turned into a pastry chef, and she brought me some of her pastries the day that she recorded our Be Inspired podcast together. Oh my God, they were just amazing, just really, really good. But I like talking to her on this particular episode because she talks about the chemistry involved in her work. Like, for example, you're supposed to cream the butter and sugar, right?
yeah,
And she says you have to cream it so that it becomes one thing. You have to work it long enough. And she said recipe books don't give you a description of what that means to cream butter and sugar. It doesn't tell you. You have to do it long enough so that, you get the fluff. You have to cream it, you have to mix it so that the two ingredients become like one. And I thought that was really fascinating.
yeah.
And I learned recently, as I said in the episode, I learned recently, I mean, and I'm not a cook. I think we have talked about that before. I cook to live, not live to cook. um
But
I had learned recently.
you're fond
What?
of baking though. You're
I,
pretty good with baking though.
I do it. I don't do it because I love
Really?
it. No, no, no. I like to
Oh,
write. I like to read.
yeah.
I like to talk.
That I
That's what I
know.
like to do. But I like, I like Paul to have stuff that he enjoys because he lives to
Yeah.
eat. I mean, he's one of those. So he told me to take a break though, because he was eating too many good things. But nonetheless, she,
For the
one of
holidays.
the, well, yeah, one of the things she talked about, or one of the things I learned recently was the importance of warmth to get baking powder to work the way it's supposed to. And I don't know where I read it or learned it or something, but it explained to me like why one of the recipes calls for boiling water in the cake mix because it's to get the baking powder to rise. And my sister-in-law also mentioned something about like she uses butter as opposed to a different kind of shortening when she makes Toll House cookies, because if she uses one or the other, and don't ask me which one, I can't remember, but if she uses one, the cookies rise. And if she uses the other kind of shortening, the cookies are flat and they spread out. So I thought that was really kind of interesting. Now, I like my Toll House cookies, just in case you want to know. I like my Toll House cookies spread out and crisp. I don't like the ones that are chewy. No.
Okay.
I like them to dissolve in my mouth. I also
Well,
learned
that also
recently,
tells me that you probably dunk them in coffee.
no, they'd fall apart.
No?
But I dunk my AB cake in
Yeah.
coffee. Oh,
I
absolutely.
just
And
I
Paul
just saw a
gets
frozen AB
Paul
cake in
gets
the freezer.
Paul gets AB cakes from the grill shop that are hard as rocks, that they can no longer sell at the grill shop. And the grill shop would give him the ends of these 80 cakes, which he loves. And then, of course, he dunks them in coffee. And it's just
Yeah.
the most wonderful thing.
I
But
can't
my sister-in-law, go ahead. One
I
last
can't
thing. My
I
sister-in-law,
can't
go
understand
ahead.
that that's what they give away. All these
Well,
Pennsylvania Dutchmen that dunk, you think that's what they're waiting for.
well, maybe they are, and they just like
When
Paul
your
and they
AB
pick
cake
him.
is rock hard, it's not past due, that thing's ready.
Yes. Yeah. 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 So anyway, that's I like I said, I in the Boyertown Area Expression this morning, Leslie published Barbie Bonnet's article that came from my podcast episode with her, because I just wrote it this weekend and just enjoyed visiting with her again. And I'm hoping I wrote to her last week. I said, our new show, Earth and Climate, is all about environment, and your work speaks to the need to pay attention to our environment. But I haven't heard back from her. I hope she exhibits again with us, because I really enjoyed
Yeah.
talking to her. I really enjoyed her art. It was really, and I see it as a way of her serving. And that's what I wanted to mention today. It's the
Okay.
Martin Luther King kind of thing. And my service, of course, is to let people like you know about people in the world who are doing wonderful things that they're passionate about. I want to bring them to, just like with my students, I wanted them to figure out who they were, what gifts they brought to the world, and then figure out a way to use them in their adult life, things that they were passionate about, things that they were good at, and let people know that that's what I decided. That's how I got involved in Studio B and out of Bear Fever, because I recognize, and I know I've said this before, so I'll just say it quick, but in Bear Fever, I met lots and lots of artists and realized that they were shy and often didn't like to promote their work, didn't like to talk about themselves, didn't like it. But I thought to myself, here I am retired. I'm looking for something to do. I can talk, I can write, I can help them get known. And like I said, that's what I did with my students. And so that's what I've done forever in the arts with Studio B. But I broadened that, and now I just look for people who are inspired about one thing or another. I don't care whether it's art or finance or whatever it is. I just want people to share what they do, what they love to do, so that we all know about that, because it's inspiring to live in the energy of other people's passions. This morning, did I tell you this already? Maybe before we started recording. This morning, I met with one of my writer friends, John Yamris, who
Yeah, that was
has
before.
written like over 30 books of poetry or whatever. But he wrote to me over the weekend and said, can I come to the studio and look around at the art and find something that moves me in some kind of way and write articles for you for the Boyertown Area Expression? I thought, oh my God, that is so great. He is fun and funny and very obviously very good with words. He's a minimalist as a poet. The fewer words as possible. One of his poems is one word, endure. Anyway, he came this
Wow.
morning and looked around. Yeah, he came this morning and looked around at different pieces of art, and he'll go home and write about them, whatever it is. I mean, he's not an art critic. He's not going to talk about brush strokes, and he's not going to talk about
Yeah.
composition and all that kind of stuff, the color palettes and whatnot. But I know that whatever it is he writes will be entertaining And of course, it will help our artists because somebody's talking about them, somebody's writing about them, somebody's bringing their work to the attention of other people. And I love that, Ross.
Yeah,
It
me
becomes a
too.
way of serving. So there, that's Martin Luther King Day for me, since you
Awesome.
ask.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I would definitely, I still constantly plug, promote, be inspired.
yeah,
Uh, I
yeah.
think even though your focus is just on the Boyertown area,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't matter because
No,
I don't know the people you talk to,
right.
but
Right.
we all kind of know the stories.
Mhm. And
And
you know
instead of
people
seeing,
like them. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, yeah, and instead of seeing that story being told by some celebrity on, Dateline
Mhm.
whatever big network show,
Mhm.
you are taking part in bringing back or maintaining local news
Mhm.
to local communities, which is
Mhm.
going away
Oh,
rapidly.
fast. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
really
I get
sad.
the emails from both the Mercury and the Reading paper,
Oh
and they're the
God.
same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're owned by the same
What?
company. Yeah, the writers just, they submit their work and it goes into all the little papers that Journal Registry, I think that's the name of the company, that Journal Registry owns, and it's all the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually found last night, I found a draft email that I was writing to them, telling
Mhm.
about what I do
Mhm.
and seeing if they would like to put my podcast on their websites.
Ooh.
I haven't sent it yet because I had to update some things. In fact, I updated, last night, talking about, some of the radio stuff I'm doing now too.
Oh,
But
cool.
yeah, I mean, I talked with a publicist. Remember, I told you I was looking at, the possibility of an agent,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
and I talked to a publicist about that, and she's like, you bring not only local but personal
Mhm.
to people that need to connect to something.
Yes.
And she said the next station, and I thought my next station was going to be a sports station. She
Hey.
said, no, the next station you need to start is LGBT.
Oh, Ross.
I'm like, God, there's
Yes.
nothing like that.
Oh my God. Well, let me segue briefly here. You may realize that my summer effort, that will include an art exhibit and writing and a community engagement of one kind or another, is called I Am Proud to Be. And I need to connect, and maybe you can help me.
Yeah.
I need to connect with local pride organizations
Okay.
for art, if possible, if they're artists, or writers, if possible, and they don't have to be just people who are part of local pride groups. I need to have them represented in my project somehow. So
Yeah.
we must
There's
add that to your
directories that I
list of
can set up.
things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you can help me
Absolutely.
connect. Yeah, that would be great. And send them to me somehow so that we can make a plan of one
Yeah.
kind or another. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
That'd be good. I was going somewhere. Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you. Do you remember in one of our more recent articles, episodes, I think we were talking about, you know, engagement yes, engagement in churches dwindling,
Yes.
engagement in social clubs dwindling.
That was
And
one of the
I
six from
offered,
last week.
and I offered to you that people are finding their entertainment, their connections and relationships and all that online, social media and
Hmm.
Google and all kinds of things. Do you know that in the paper, and I offer to you that at some point, just like my son, who is no longer on any social media, doesn't have a voicemail on his phone, he got so sick of communicating tech in the technology world, you know, all now is personal, right? And in the paper today, there was an article about just exactly that.
Yeah.
That people are starting to, in dating sites, they don't want to deal with dating sites anymore. They're inauthentic and they're stupid and they're scary. Okay. And so they're going back to one-on-one kind of thing. So I thought, aha, maybe I know something.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to listen to Jurg's radio today. Uh, there is a news segment that goes for about 30 minutes every so many hours.
Mhm.
And the three different segments or sections of that 30 minutes is daily crypto news. It's a guy from
Mhm.
Ohio that does a daily report on cryptocurrencies and investments and such. David Beckmeyer's Science Bites.
Mhm.
And then I steal from NPR and I take the up to date,
Oh, cool.
stories from NPR and put that on. The daily crypto news today, he did something different. He went back to a I don't know, somebody he's quoted and worked with before, who wrote a story, totally fiction, but it's prediction of
Ah,
life in 2033,
okay.
and it's all automated.
Ah,
You don't work, you just get paid. You don't have
wow.
a house, you have this cell. Maybe some people also have a kitchen because it's
Mhm.
so populated and so everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everything
Yeah.
you owe is automatically deducted from your pay.
Yeah. We're headed in that direction. There's no question about it. And there are science
Yeah,
fiction stories that I used to teach back in the day, back in the 70s. The Big Machine or something, or even Fahrenheit 451. Same
I
kind of
remember that.
thing. Yeah, yeah, Brave New World, we're there. And
Yep.
sadly, also 1984. But
Yeah.
listen, buddy, I think this particular episode
Yep. We are there.
has reached its limit. So, how about if we move along? And
It's that
I'm Jane
time.
Stahl,
And I'm Jurgs.
and this is Both Sides Now.
Both sides now. All right, everybody. See you in the next one.
Bye bye.